Right, back to this engine. I think we'll put the adapter plate on. We're going to put some seal around it, but first of all, whilst we were talking about this balance beam, I want to show you a little thing that I knock up just to help. It's just sort of a little ratchet strap that goes on from your hook. Jeez, I can't get close enough to get a distance. So a ratchet strap that goes from there and hook it around the engine mount on the side it's leaning down on. And you can see here, the engine's not square at all, it's sort of like at an angle like that, and I don't want that. So by ratcheting this up, we can simply turn the engine to any position we wish. Good, isn't it? You don't need all that much gear, but now, you know, once you've got it vertical, and then you can move it on the balance beam, fitting engines are a dream. So first of all, what we're going to do, we're going to get some brake cleaner and clean off the surface, because, and all the threads in there, underneath there, get it all on, because we're going to put Loctite in these threads. They should already be clean, but it's just in case. There used to be, on the older engines, there used to be a gasket that went in here. 200 TDIs used to fit a gasket, but these don't for some reason. So we'll let that dry off, then we'll come back. So I've got a seal of RTV on the back of the housing. It's all nice and dry now. We're going to bolt it on. Remember, you know, to get a good seal all the way around it. Otherwise they get water down the back of them. That's not good. Right. So what I've got is I'm going to whiz them down with my gun a little bit, and then torque them down to 45 Newton meters. I know this is a bit sort of haphazard, this engine, because we've already been through this 2 or 3 times, and it's sort of getting a bit repetitive now. But never mind. Something to watch, innit? Better than Coronation Street. Now make sure the dowels are in, and if you're using a used adapter, because this one came off that engine, just make sure the dowels are not in here, so you haven't got a replication of dowels. The dowels should be in the engine. And there we go. I just tap that very lightly, and then we'll take our bolts on that and just whiz them down ever so lightly. Now, we don't really need Loctite on these, we don't really do much. No, we do if you get the right size socket. What's that? 11. Back in a bit and I'll get the bolts in. So now we'll tighten up the bolts in an even fashion. This is a bit awkward and moving about, but what can we do? These top ones here. It's like looking on a ship, isn't it? Well, we can just use the extension on that. There we go, that's them on. Now, if you can probably see here, I've put new little clips to hold the wiring on that goes to the starter. But we'll do that in a minute, because we're going to back off our torque wrench, as we always have to do, get in that habit. Next we're going to put the flywheel on. That's going to be fun, isn't it? Right, now for the next bit we're going to fit the flywheel. This is a bit tricky because, like I say, it's mid-air. but also we don't know the position of the crank, and we don't know the position of the cam because we haven't got the belt on. So we have to be super careful that we don't hit the valves with the pistons. So what we're going to do is we're simply going to make sure all that flange is nice and clean, there's no dust on it, dirt, anything like that. Nice and clean. Then we'll get the flywheel. Sorry for pointing. Rude to point. Just a second. So we've got the flywheel. Oh, there it is. I've got it on a bit of zoom, you see, so we can see what we're doing. Again, make sure that's off. Now, without dropping this on your feet. I've got a couple of bolts. There we are. A couple of long bolts so we can grab hold of it. Oh, now you probably won't be able to see because I'll have my back to you, but let me turn it around a bit. Because I can't see the camera and everybody will start complaining. Oops. Now we've got to get that key, that dowel. There we go. Just like that. Now we ooh, Jesus. That's because the bloody engine's on an angle. Where's my tool for? Who's in this over? Oh, wait a minute. This is where there's tipping. Ooh, come here. Come here. God. Saturday afternoon. Too many things to do. A minute. Let's turn this engine. Oh. Tip it back. So now it's going to be easy to put this flywheel on. Right. Bloody gravity. I wish we could get rid of it. We're losing all our nuts and bolts. There, it's on. Now, before we Loctite that in, we're just going to put a couple of bolts in just to hold it in place so the bloody thing doesn't drop off again. Because the bolt threads are clean. What we haven't got is the socket to tighten that down with. Oh, there it is. We're not going to tighten them down naturally, we're just going to stop the flywheel coming off. There we go. That's enough. Now, with that in place, we can see here, there's our notch. Isn't it nice and new flywheel's all machined up. It's nice, that nice touch, isn't it? We're going to turn this crank, so this pin's got to be in line. Now, where's our pin? Right, so we can see here, that's the notch for the pin, which is here. I'm going to put the pin in. I should tell you about this, shouldn't I? Haven't I told you this before? Maybe I did, maybe I didn't, I can't remember. When you buy these pin kits from wherever you do, I don't know, they're all over the place now, these timing pin kits. The one for the 300 TDI or 200 TDI, because it goes underneath, is a bugger to use because when I got mine, there was no, it wasn't spring loaded. Like I've put a spring in this. I wonder if I could get it apart and show you. Oh yes, I can. Wait a minute, here, look at this here. So, undo the little screw, take it apart, and I just found a nice little spring that goes in there, because if not, when I got mine, it was like that. See what I mean? Well, when it's upside down, it's a bugger to put in. Now that's a pretty hefty spring. Also, I made a childish schoolboy type error once upon a time by turning it over with the pin in. Fortunately, JP come to the rescue again, machined this down and made me a pin. So if we break it again, we can take it out. So, if you want to modify yours, because otherwise, when you have to be under a car and turn it at the same time, if you see what I mean. But now it's spring loaded, it's a lot easier. Let's have a look back at this engine. So I'm going to put it in. and then we're going to turn the engine over till it clicks. Now again, I don't know if I said before I was talking to Ludi, it's really critical that you don't turn over the engine so that the piston, because they're out of sync at the moment because they haven't got a belt on, so we don't want the pistons to hit the valves. You know, you're forcing it round. We've got to get it in its right sync place, and that's why we're doing it with the pin at the back, so we know that that's on top dead centre. We've got the cam roughly on top dead centre. It's not really important right now, but it is going to be shortly. So we don't want them all out of sync, if you see what I mean. So let's go to the front of this engine. Like this. See, here's what I made earlier. And I've got on here the adapter tool, so I can put a piece of tubing on here. So when I tighten up the flywheel bolts, I can put this engine on the floor, put a big bar on it and torque it up. So now I'm going to turn it. So that's clicked. And I've got here, the timing is now set on the cam. Now, again, I had to mess about with that 2 or 3 times before I could sync it right so it could go in, if you see what I mean. So perhaps a good idea is to turn the engine 90 degrees so all the pistons are level, and then sort of work on the cam a little bit, if you see what I mean, so you can backwards and forwards. It's easy. It's easier to say than do, if you see what I mean, because if you feel the piston hitting, stop. Now, this is mission critical now. So we're going to take the pin out again. We're not going to hold the flywheel by the pin whilst we torque it down, because what will happen is we can snap the pin. So I'm going to turn it round. I'm going to alter the angle of this tool, and I'll show you what I made. Well, again, JP makes everything. What would we do without JP? Let me see, what size is that? 13 mil. So we'll spin this off. You can see I didn't have the right size socket for this. No, not size. Right size bolt, so I just simply packed them up with washers. Now the nut isn't on this on this pulley. Why? Because the paint's not dry yet. So we're going to turn it like this. Maybe, yeah, we'll turn it like that. And you must tap out the holes when you're going to use a tool like this. It's really important because you don't want to damage the threads, because if you damage the threads when it comes to put this part on, then we're screwed. Right, so take the pin out. Next, we'll prep up the bolts with some, what do you call it, thread lock. Put all the bolts in and then we'll tighten them down. We'll find out in the book what they're supposed to be. I thought I'd be a superhero and just put the scaffolding bar, I don't know if you can see it at the other side, through the tool at the front. And then I'm going to tighten the bolts up to 146 Newton meters diagonally opposite. Let's give it a go. I've done it before, but I thought it might move around a bit. Whoa, that's going to be alright. I've done that one. This one. Got a bit of movement here. Could do without 2-3 people here. Hey, I'll tell you what I might do. Wait a minute. I'm going to modify my scaffolding tube. I don't know why I didn't do this years ago. I just welded a couple of nuts on, M10s. I wanted to do M12 but didn't have any bolts, so they will now clamp around the tool that I've got on the end of the shaft and stop dropping out. Let's get this fitted, let's get back to talking. See if this mind-blowing invention works. Oh, I must have done that one. And it works a charm. Must have done that one. Must have done that one. That one. Let's go around them all, just to make sure. Oh, that bar's a treat. It's going to make life easy when I put the crank bolt, tighten up the crank nut as well. Bolt. There we go. Excellent. Whiz that tool off, put it on the side of the wall. Another day. Hey! Just, you know, it's stupid little things like that that make your life so much easier. Right, I'm going to call it a day on that because the next thing is to fit the timing belt. So we've just done a few little jobs and then we'll fit the oh, I might just fit the starter. That's easy, you don't need to know anything about that, do you? But we'll put the belt on in the next video and then we'll do a smoke test, I think. Yeah, I think so. But you see, now the starter is so much easier to do when the turn around, come on, again, with the intake with the manifold off and the exhaust and stuff like that. So let me put this in somewhere safe where I'll lose it, and we'll see you in the next video.